Hey guys, Brian O'Day, one of the pastors of Pillar Church of Jacksonville and executive director of the Praetorian Project. And I'm joined today with Clint Clifton, one of the pastors of Pillar Church of Dumfries. Good to see you this morning, Clint.
Hey, Brian.
What's up? So give us a brief overview history. I know it's been a long time, but of Pillar Church of Dumfries for those who are new to the Praetorian Project.
Yeah, so I was working at Stafford Baptist Church as a music pastor. Colby Garman, who you might know, was the youth pastor at that same church. We were both hired right out of seminary and or right out of Bible college, really, and junior staff members at this kind of run-of-the-mill Southern Baptist church, long wooden pews, tall white steeple. You get the picture,
Yeah.
And I was directing the choir and leading the ensemble every Sunday morning, and Colby was chasing around 14 or 15 ragtag teenagers around the building. So that was what we were doing, and neither of us knew anything. We had a really good senior pastor there that mentored us well and inspired us to do great things for Jesus. And I began to feel like God was calling me to plant a church a few years into that. When talked to him about that, he's kind of said, "Hey, we want to do that with you, but you're not quite ready yet." And so there was a slowing down that happened, and then eventually it was like, "Okay, we're getting there, we're ready for it. So choose a place." And so I started looking around and intended to go back. Always thought I'd go back to Florida to plant a church, and then interestingly, I was doing my quiet time one day and reading through Philippians chapter 1 and was really struck by the Praetorian Guard piece. I remember reading in a commentary about that and seeing in the commentary that the commentator likened Praetorian Guardsmen to modern Marines and said they're sort of like the elite. He used the word elite in there somewhere. And I was working with Marines at the church, lots of Marines in the church. And I was like, yeah, they do think they're elite.
And we all think we're elite. Absolutely.
Yeah, they do. So I just struck me. I mean, I just remember thinking, like God used those guys to spread the gospel all over the Roman Empire and everywhere else, according to Paul. And he did it through the confining of Paul. And I was just struck with like the power of military service members and their families for the first time, even as a pastor of a church that was full of them. And so God began to use that to stir in me a desire to go plant a church at Quantico, which seemed crazy on some levels. It didn't seem so crazy to me. I think other people saw it as a little crazy. I'm an overweight, Marine with facial hair who's never shot a gun. I don't run unless someone's chasing me. And I was in this situation where I felt like God was calling me to plant a church there. So I went and talked to mentors and friends and my pastor there about that. And, I was essentially saying to my pastor, I'm going to plant a church in your backyard. And I want to take some people from here to do it, which now to us in our culture doesn't seem weird at all, but it was weird, And to his credit, he said, if that's what God's calling you to do, then he's calling me to support you,
Wow.
He was incredible. And he basically, our plan was, about half baked. He was like, well, why don't you just preach one Sunday, which I hadn't really done that before. He was like, why don't you just preach one Sunday and tell everybody what you're doing and see if you can convince people to go with you. And so I did. I gave my most heartfelt plea. There's a cassette tape out there somewhere in the world that has my heartfelt plea that Sunday morning. And
if anybody has that, I will need that mailed to me.
Yeah, it's in the world somewhere.
And I need a cassette player mailed to me as well. Yeah.
So I was really, and Jonathan and Jennifer Davis were part of the church at that time. Mm-hmm. They were sort of newer members to that church and at a way different place in their spiritual lives than they are right now. And but they were there for that. And so the Lord started calling me to that work. I got up and pleaded, and Jonathan and Jennifer, as well as about 8 or 10 other folks, said, we'll go. None of them really Marines. There was one guy who had served in the Marine Corps, but had been discharged he'd been discharged. We'll say that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then so we anyway we set out to go do this. So you asked about the history of the church. I gave you a lot of the origin, but
That's
basically
great.
the history was a story of us trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. I mean,
Yeah.
it did not meet my expectations. I wasn't as good a pastor as I thought I'd be. I didn't reach people at the rate I thought I'd reach people. I don't remember a Marine coming to faith in Christ for the first 3 years. I don't think a Marine did come to faith in Christ for the first 3 years. And so it was really discouraging and difficult. But eventually, through encouragement of other people, and we didn't give up, and the Lord started working. But we were dedicated to multiplying from the beginning. We were actually, figuring out multiplication when we should have been figuring out how to keep ourselves alive.
Yeah, great. And what year did you start?
So we began working in 2004. So in the fall of 2004, we had our first meetings. We would now call those like preview services. It was just a few of us meeting at a park outside, like the 10 of us or something. And we met in a McDonald's for a little while, and then we met in a Holiday Inn for a little while, and then we were at the park mostly. It got cold, and so we started looking for another place. So we started off in a hotel, and then in March of 2005, we had our first, official public worship service.
Yeah, man, that's great. I'm thankful you spent all that time on the origin, because it really helps us. Pillar Dumfries is the oldest church in the Praetorian Project, and a lot of the culture was built during those early days. So currently we have churches gathering in elementary schools and out at parks, and we had a church gathering in a hotel at one point earlier this year. So that culture was baked in from the beginning. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's great. I actually learned a couple of things there as well. But what are you celebrating recently at Pillar Dumfries?
Oh man, for me, the Lord, it's so exciting to see in our church right now, the young adults really grabbing the ministry and running with it. We've got some really fantastic young staff right now, including Cody Davis, who's Jonathan Davis's son. So just thinking back to that couple with their little kids sitting in that pew back in Stafford Baptist, and now what the Lord's done with them. Cale Davis worked with us this summer. Cody Davis is on our staff now, and just doing a tremendously good job helping us strategize new ways to reach people. He's serving with me in our commission team as we try to send people around the world, prepare church planners. Just so encouraged by that. And my own son, Noah, is on the staff right now too, serving as an intern. And he's leading evangelism efforts, taking people out in our community, knocking on door to door evangelism in our community, sharing the gospel with individuals. He's challenging the adults in our church to go do that. And he was equipped for that work by Jared Huntley and by Daniel Carter as they were in 29 Palms, leading the rescue effort over there. So just the fact that God used that situation to ignite passion for evangelism in my son, who now is helping in our church, it's just, the whole thing is surreal. And I sit in worship services and see that room fill up almost all the way to the back wall now. You remember that room's one screen.
And you mean like,
yeah,
there was a divider that cut it in
it's not there anymore.
The back wall. Wow.
Yeah, the back wall. I mean, it's 3/4 of the way back now. Wow. And I just remember days with 15 of us in that room where I never thought we'd even get to the dividing wall, Wow. And to think we just sent out 80 people to start a new church. And I mean, it's just, to me, it blows my mind what the Lord's done at the church and through the network too. It's just it's incredible. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Daniel Carter, Pillar San Diego, is helping Pillar 29 Palms. Noah was there on the ground. You were on the ground helping Pillar 29 Palms sustain. Jared Huntley from Pillar DC also went there to support that. Noah on the ground, and now Noah's back taking that evangelistic fervor further. Man, that's very exciting. And the church, and you just quietly mentioned that you sent out 80 people to plant Pillar Church of Stafford.
Yeah.
As almost an oh by the way. So just, man, really exciting. I know, especially this week, a lot to be discouraged about in the world. But man, just God continues to be faithful. The gospel continues to be spread, and people are coming to know Jesus. Here at Pillar Jacks, we're having a baptism this coming Sunday. We're just seeing the Lord continue to work in the lives of people. So, man, very exciting.
It is
Uh,
exciting. Yeah,
yeah,
we're so thankful. It's one thing I'll say, some of our church planners, I know this is for a lot of people, but some of our church
yeah,
planners will listen to this, and in the throes of those difficult days of church planting, when you
yeah,
think, golly, I don't know if I could go another moment doing this. And I just say, as a person who got through that rough patch, it gets better. It's almost like having little kids, like when they're all
right,
in diapers and you're like, I can't survive.
yeah,
But there's that finishes. It does come to a close. It's not a
yeah,
definitive moment, but it does. And
right.
right now the church is such a blessing to us. I mean, we poured into the church for a long time, but now the church is just dumping blessings on my family.
Wow. Praise God. Man, I pray you just encourage some church planters that are struggling right now and some parents potentially that are struggling right now. So
Yeah.
thank you much for that, Clint. Look forward to seeing you, if not before, in a month or so at Man Down, or the big men's retreat we're having in Northern Virginia outside of DC as well. So looking forward to that. Thanks so much for the update, Clint. Appreciate you.
Fine.